NASCAR had contemplated waiting for the manufacturing of new pieces and giving teams time to understand those pieces as it looked to improve racing on short tracks and road courses this year. But the teams had a different idea. Remove pieces and let's race. So, NASCAR will unveil a new aerodynamic package for short tracks and road courses this weekend at the 1-mile Phoenix Raceway. I love the fact that they've been aggressive with it and trying to fix it, said former Cup champion Kevin Harvick, who is looking for his 20th consecutive top 10 finish at Phoenix. That's part of the collaboration between NASCAR and the drivers and believing in each other. They're going to do something, and they believe what we're saying. As long as everybody collaborates and keeps continuing down that path, the racing can get better. One of the key changes in the new package is the reduction of the rear spoiler from 4 inches to 2 inches. This may not seem like a big deal, but it has a significant impact on the car's downforce or lack thereof. Additionally, certain engine strakes and rear diffuser panels have been removed. These thin, flat pieces are responsible for controlling how air moves underneath the car, which in turn allows for more downforce. However, by removing these panels, the downforce is greatly reduced, making the cars much harder to handle with less grip. What does this mean for the drivers? It means they'll need to work the throttle more and be more precise with their movements, since the cars will be much more difficult to handle. It also means that there will be more inequality in how the cars handle, since a team's decisions on how to set up suspension pieces and tire pressures will have a bigger impact. This should result in more passing on the track, as drivers jostle for position and try to gain an edge over their competitor. NASCAR estimates the changes will reduce downforce by 30%. NASCAR had a test with 6 drivers, 3 Chevrolet drivers, 2 Fords, and 1 Toyota, in January at Phoenix, and this configuration was tried for a couple of hours near the end of the test. NASCAR then took a car from each manufacturer to the wind tunnel to make sure that no manufacturer had a significant advantage. "I'm really encouraged with what I saw at the test," said Brad Keselowski, one of the drivers who tested. "It should make the racing a little better than it has been on short tracks and potentially on road courses." The drivers don't really know how much difference this will make. Cautiously optimistic for some small improvement is probably the best way to describe their expectations. "It's really hard to tell until you get all the cars on the racetrack and see how it races," Harvick said. "I don't think it's going to be as effective as everybody had hoped it's going to be, but when you get deep into those runs, it might be so ill-handling that it is great and crazy and all over the place. But at least it's something." Short tracks and road courses typically have provided some of the most dramatic moments and best racing in recent years. With the introduction of the next-gen car last season, those races didn't live up to their previous events. The one thing NASCAR didn't do is increase horsepower. That would require extensive research and development and cost from the engine builders because they have parts designed to run 2 events at 670 horsepower. An increase likely would require changes to those parts. NASCAR also knows that teams work on each package in the wind tunnel and run extensive simulations. To try to limit the work, NASCAR opted to combine this aerodynamic package with the additions already decided for most short tracks and road courses to be able to run in damp conditions. Those additions include a windshield wiper, windshield defoggers, flaps behind the tires, and rear lights. Because Bristol and Dover are not part of the damp weather package, they also are not included in this new Aero package. Races at those tracks will be with the package for ovals that are 1.25 miles and bigger. So, the package used at Phoenix will run at Charlotte Motor Speedway Road Course, Chicago Street Course, Circuit of the Americas, Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, Martinsville, New Hampshire, North Wilkesboro, Phoenix, Richmond, Sonoma, and Watkins Glen. What drivers learn this weekend could help at some of the other ovals, but teams often concentrate heavily on Phoenix as they want to learn as much as they can with the championship race there in November. "The championship race is so far away that things will progress, and there's really nothing in my mind other than this week," Harvick said. "Teams will get 50 minutes of practice Friday at Phoenix and then get to spend overnight deciding on adjustments for the car before going through technical inspection Saturday. On a typical race weekend, they go through technical inspection before they ever get on track and can only make very minimal adjustments during a 20-minute practice before qualifying. For many of those who didn't get to test, they welcome the 50-minute practice. The team simulations are so good nowadays, and every manufacturer had cars, Chevy having the most cars at the test, that they shouldn't have any issue to be tuned in, said Denny Hamlin. We only had one Toyota. It sounded like the results were pretty good for us at the time. I think 50 minutes is fine. We'll get it figured out, especially after the first race. And there are some drivers who would be fine if it was just the normal 20 minutes of practice before qualifying. We don't need any practice, said 2311 driver Tyler Reddick. Just send us out there and let us race. You look back at how we tackled COVID, just showing up and racing. Some of our better races were those. What the extra practice session does, though, is it allows teams to make changes. On a typical weekend, the cars are impounded. Your springs, shocks, geometry, settings are pretty much set, but on Friday night after practice, we'll be able to change springs and suspension things to really maximize everything we can for Saturday, said Michael McDowell, who drives for the two-car front row motorsports. NASCAR's use of single-source vendors for most car parts and pieces has created a challenge for drivers like Kevin Harvick, who seek a car that can adapt and evolve during a race. Despite this obstacle, Harvick and his team are determined to maximize their car's potential through innovative engineering or strategic pit stops to stay ahead of the competition. The stage is set for a thrilling weekend at Phoenix Raceway, and all eyes are on Ryan Blaney. The driver won a stage in each of the Phoenix races last year, showing that he's got the skills to take on the competition. In fact, some believe that Blaney could have even challenged Penske teammate Joey Logano for the win in the championship race if he had been willing to take a high-risk move at the end. But Blaney won't be the only one to watch out for. Christopher Bell is also expected to put up a strong fight. If he can avoid the pit road issues that plagued him in both races last year, he could be a major contender for the top spot. And then there's Ross Chastain, a driver who's been flying under the radar but is definitely a force to be reckoned with. In both races last year, Chastain was running among the leaders and finished second in the spring and third in the fall. The craziest part, he didn't even lead a lap in either race. As the drivers gear up for the race, there's a sense of excitement and anticipation in the air. Anything can happen on the track, and with such talented drivers vying for the top spot, we're in for a real treat. Will Blaney be able to maintain his momentum from last year? Or will Bell or Chastain come out on top? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, it's going to be an adrenaline-fueled weekend of racing that you won't want to miss. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button to stay up to date on all the action. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the racetrack.